Hello everybody, my name is Liz and welcome to my channel. This is my 5th video on the topic of addiction recovery because I think it is so important to talk about this a little bit more than we are. I think there's some traditional methods with AA and the 12 steps, but I'm noticing a lot of this younger generation, we don't really resonate with it like that. We're not really clicking with all that stuff. And I get it. I didn't really either. And so I kind of had to come up with my own systems and my own methods. And that's what I'm doing here on YouTube, is sharing that for anyone who's considering quitting an addiction, anyone who is addicted and they might not even realize it, or whatever it may be. I'm here to help. I'm going to link a few of my other videos in the description. Go ahead and check those out as well if you're interested and if you're ready to start this process. I have some tools for you, some steps that you can take. But I'm going to get right into today's video, which is one thing that is going to hold you back from recovery. Now, when I talk about recovery, it's important to really think about, what does that word mean? Recovery is basically coming back to a state of normal. So for instance, if you injure your knee and you end up having to have surgery and have to do, like the rehabilitation and all that, and then you're back to walking again, it's working fine, that is recovery, right? Your knee is recovered, it's back to its normal. But what if your knee never worked properly? What if your past life before your addictions was never normal? What if it's not the normal you want to go back to, right? What if you want to create a new normal? What if we want to approach addiction as the catalyst to renewal, to revival? This is how I want you to look at it. I want you to view addiction as that thing that you needed to go through to push you to becoming the new version of yourself. That version of you that feels so far away gets closer and closer the more you start to let go of the outside external substances that you've been numbing yourself with, and you embrace the discomfort of the change that you're going through, and you are willing to just do the work. That new version of yourself, it starts to come into alignment. And so the one thing that's going to hold you back from coming to that new version of yourself, from getting there, is called the substance swap. Okay? This is such a common phenomena in the recovery space. The substance swap looks like, well, I have a problem with smoking weed, so I'm going to stop smoking weed. And as I do that, I start to drink in the evenings. Or I have a problem with smoking nicotine, so I'm going to quit smoking nicotine, but I'm going to eat a bunch of sugar and candy all day, every day. Or I have a problem with drinking, and I'm going to stop drinking, but then I start to smoke weed every day. Whatever it is, this can look so many different ways. There's so many variations of this, but the problem is still the same. You're substituting your high with another high, okay? And the reality is, yeah, it might not be enough. If you're swapping, alcohol with candy, it might not do the trick completely, but you're still giving your body that hit of artificial dopamine that it's craving. And why this is dangerous and why this can hold you back is that it gives you the illusion of progress. It gives you the idea that you're making the necessary changes. And the addicted ego, it's so sneaky and devious and conniving. It'll do anything to keep you from going through discomfort, right? That's its job. It wants to protect you, to keep you away from fear, to keep you away from any feelings of pain. And so when you start to withdraw, it'll just negotiate with you. Well, it's fine. What if we do this? We don't have a problem with this. Let's just do this instead. And again, it's giving you that pat on the back. You're doing a great job, when in reality, you're not actually making any real progress. You're still staying in the addicted mentality, and you're not going through the changes that you need to go through. And the way we can prevent this from happening is to start to view addiction as a spiritual catalyst. The only way you're going to be able to actually leave your addiction behind is becoming a new version of yourself, okay? You almost have to be reborn. This applies to any illness, disease, people who go through deep grief and loss and become so consumed by negative emotions and depression and just hating their lives. The people that come out of that, the only way they do that is by changing their thoughts, their beliefs, and who they are down to their core. And they become anew. And then they can view that horrible, terrible thing that happened to them as the catalyst that pushed them to this, okay? This is a very, very common thing that we see in today's world. I mean, even rehabs almost promote smoking cigarettes when you're quitting alcohol or harder drugs. And it's crazy to me, because you're just perpetuating the problem. You're just keeping the person staying stuck in their addiction. You're enabling them to believe that they're doing better, but really you've just found something a little more socially acceptable. And to me, that's just not good enough, okay? I'm a little bit of a tough love kind of person, and I think that when it comes to recovery and addiction and the sneaky deviousness of it all, I think you kind of need to approach it with a little bit of tough love and not give in to every desire, not be too graceful with yourself, okay? You can be like, I'm doing great, you know, I've stopped smoking a pack a day and instead I'm chewing a whole pack of nicotine gum and I'm doing amazing. And if you need a wean, that's fine. I'm not judging people's processes, but if you're not progressing beyond that and you're just staying stuck in that thinking that you're doing better, you're not. That energy is still there, okay? And I have a few friends who were addicted to hard drugs and addicted to alcohol and things like that. And they quit those things after DUIs and jail and rehab and all kinds of stuff. Literally 3 different friends in my life have gone through almost the same exact pattern. And they quit all that, but they still smoke weed, or they still smoke nicotine, or they still even sell this stuff. Even though they don't use it themselves, they still sell, you know, cocaine or weed or whatever. And that energy has been lingering. And even though it might have been 5 years or whatever that they've been sober, guess what? It's coming back up now. They've got DUIs coming up from the past that is all of a sudden like, you know, pulling them right back. And they're telling themselves, well, I'm a completely different person. I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke that stuff. I don't do that stuff anymore. But guess what? They're still lying. They're still sneaky. They're still addicted. They're still numbing, and they're still avoiding the discomfort and the pain. They haven't actually changed. And that's why it's so dangerous, because they've convinced themselves for 5 years that they're completely different people. And I'm not saying nothing is different in their life. Of course, if you have switched alcohol with weed, there's a difference. The high is different. Your reaction and response is different, but the energy is the same. Okay? The energy is still there. It's following you around. And if you don't actually make the changes and actually renew yourself, not just recover, go back to some normal, like, oh, well, in the past, I just smoked weed and nicotine, and then I started drinking all the time. Well, now I'm going back to my normal. Like, no, you have to become a new version of yourself and start to view withdrawals as the initiation into becoming your new self. You have to go through this discomfort. You have to go through the pain, the detox, the purge that your body needs to get this out of you. And if you just substitute it with something else, you're not actually making any progress and you're keeping yourself stuck. If you need some help with that, I have a video about 6 steps to quitting any addiction and a video on some tools to stay sober. And I talk about how to deal with withdrawals, how to prepare them, how to have a game plan. I'm going to go ahead and link those videos down below and probably at the very end of this. But you guys, this is so, so important. You have to take this seriously. You cannot soften the blow by switching to something else. It's seriously going to perpetuate the problem. So embrace the withdrawals, go through the pain, go through the darkness. I know it sounds easy, and I know you might not even feel like your freaking self for those first 2 weeks, but it gets easier. After the first 3 days, it starts to get easier. After the first 2 weeks, it starts to get easier. After the first month, you start to feel renewed. And after 2 months, you feel like you can take on the fucking world, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and link those other videos right here. I'm wishing you luck and praying for you, and I know you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And it's totally worth it, you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.